What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're here for a Monday Night Raw review for August the 3rd, 2020. We are on our way to SummerSlam. This entire build of SummerSlam is a fucking mess. Coming in tonight's Raw, WrestleVotes and other dirt sheets put out tweets and articles saying that because tonight they were taping not just Raw this week, but Raw next week. They were in disarray. This entire thing was a mess from start to finish. And we get to the show, and we get Raw Underground. What the fuck is Raw Underground? Well, we found out what Raw Underground was. WWE, for whatever fucking reason, thought it would be a good idea to bring back shoot-style MMA-type fights like an underground version of UFC. Here's my problem with this. If I'm going to go out there and do all this, I don't want to sit there and watch this. I don't want to sit there and watch MMA fighting on professional wrestling. MMA fighting is meant for the UFC, Bellator, and all that shit. I do not need to hear, oh, well, we're going to have MMA fights on WWE television. Piss poor versions, too. I mean, come on. This is what you have for Monday Night Raw. This is the desperation they want. Give me a break. It's just absolutely ridiculous how WWE continues to just throw things at the wall. They are getting so desperate for ratings that they have a dartboard of all these ideas to do, and they're just throwing darts at it. And it landed on this. Another thing that was teased tonight by those in the dirt sheets and everything in WrestleVotes was there's going to be a new faction coming out starting tonight. We're going to do the debut of a faction. As we know, not WWE, the world we are dealing with right now has a lot if you watch the mainstream media, you won't see this that often, but you have a lot of rioting going on. You have a lot of chaos, anarchy, extremists on both sides trying to tear down what we know as America. So what does WWE think they should do? And this is the only thing we saw of them. We didn't see who the hell these people were, but towards the end of the night, Tom Phillips tells us, we're going to show you some video footage from earlier tonight outside the Performance Center. And we see a still shot. We see this tower-looking thing. I don't know if it was like a generator or something. And then we see 5 black-clothed, black-hood, everything individuals run up. And one of them take Molotov cocktails and throw them at this tower. I don't know if it was like a generator or something. Maybe it was, because at the beginning of the show, we had lights flickering. We had technical issues. Of course, there's a hurricane hitting Florida about now, so it could have been that. But WWE decides that they're going to go out there and put their own radical extremist faction out there for all of us to see. Now, a lot of people were expecting, because they're like a new faction, and people who want to get the attention of the main matchmakers and decision makers, maybe the Undisputed Era. I hope the fuck that's not it. Yes, there was a woman's voice in there, so it could be all 4 members of the Undisputed Era plus Marina Shafir, who is married to Roderick Strong. But please, oh please, oh please, don't let that be it. This just was a mess of a show. And on top of that, we had a women's match between Sasha Banks and Shayna Baszler that ended in disqualification, not because somebody came in and attacked Sasha or somebody came in and attacked Shayna Baszler. No, because Asuka attacked Bayley, who was on the outside. So the referee decided, let's ring the bell. The match is over. What the fuck? Surprisingly, and I'm real surprised about this, we didn't get Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Asuka and Shayna Baszler. No, that didn't happen, surprisingly. Also, More desperation for WWE. During tonight's show, they also had Angel Garza take on Angelo Dawkins. Okay, fine match. That was fine there. Then they had, the right after that, Montez Ford take on Andrade. And then, during that match, Montez Ford just collapsed. Don't know what it is at the time when it happens, what the hell's going on. The next thing we know, they say, or they in the back, they're like, apparently he was poisoned. What in the fuck are we watching? We had this whole entire underground thing tonight. This WWE Raw Underground, 10 o'clock. And I thought it was going to be from 10 to 11. We were going to get nothing but these underground matches. But no, it was, we do a little bit here, go back to the PC, in front of the PC, in front of all the cameras. Then we go back, we go back and forth in between the two. This company is absolutely out of their fucking mind. Nothing is working. The ratings continue to fall. Having Bayley get attacked by Asuka, and then having the match that was happening that had nothing to do with Bayley get thrown out is turning people off. We don't care about MMA fighting. If I'm gonna watch shoot style MMA type fighting, I'll go watch the UFC. If Bellator's running, I'll go watch them. I don't need this garbage in my show. And then it's like, oh, well, we're not doing anything political by having 4 or 5 people dressed up like Antifa and right wing, left wing, whatever extremists you want to call them, throwing Molotov cocktails at a fucking tower. What the fuck was WWE thinking on this night? Now, I know they were in disarray, and apparently both nights were not even close to being completed by the time they started these shows. Why should anyone care about Monday Night Raw? Someone even asked this question out there, what is the name of the new faction? And Wrestling Inc., I think, put the tweet out. It's the wrestling fans that are still watching this after tonight, because this show was absolutely terrible. We started today's show, not tonight's show, but today, was supposed to be the auction for the rights to the XFL. Then, we end the night with one of the worst episodes of Monday Night Raw in history. This was awful. Absolutely awful. Nothing redeemable on this show except for maybe 1 or 2 things. So, we start off the show with MVP versus Apollo Crews because we couldn't keep this till SummerSlam. No. We had to have this match tonight. You know, for the last few weeks, MVP has been running around saying, I am the real United States champion, holding up a new championship belt, which is officially, after tonight, the actual United States championship. But I'm the U.S. champion, even though I did not win the championship. I didn't earn it. I won it because, no. They could have did this so much better. Apollo Crews comes back this week. MVP still, talking his bullshit about being the real United States champion. Apollo Crews comes back with his title and says, no, man, I'm the real U.S. champion. You didn't beat me. You didn't beat me for the title. Your boy there left me injured for a month because of whatever you want to say. And I think we need to have a match at SummerSlam, whatever the hell, and give it a stipulation. You can make it a ladder match. You can make it a no disqualification match. You can make it whatever. And build intrigue for SummerSlam. But what did they do? They didn't do that. They put the match on tonight. And what the fuck are we supposed to do? It's like, good fucking grief. All you have to do is go, well, MVP versus Apollo Crews, United States Championship. Who is the real U.S. champion? This goes all the way back to 1990, 4? Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon. WrestleMania 10. Who's the real Intercontinental Champion? Razor won a tournament, a battle royal, then won a match to be called the Intercontinental Champion. Then Shawn Michaels came back after being gone away from suspension, saying, "No, I'm the real Intercontinental Champion." And they battled at WrestleMania for both titles in the first ever official on air ladder match. You couldn't invoke that spirit and build this to SummerSlam? No, we're just gonna throw it away on Monday Night Raw. It's not like we could use some extra matches at SummerSlam to give us something worth watching. Why couldn't you just go, well, you know what? We'll build this to SummerSlam. WWE's laziness. This is feeling week in and week out more and more like Nitro to the end. Why do I say that? Because when things started going bad for WCW tried everything in the book to get ratings up. They tried some stupid shit. They tried title switches. The World Championship in 2000 in WCW. I know Brian Zane did a video on it a couple years ago, but it changed hand so many times that you couldn't even count on both hands how many times that title changed. I think it was like 50 sometimes in a 12-month period. There were new champions like every other week, vacated every once in a while. This is starting to get down to that desperation, and it's absolutely sad. WWE needs to do something else. Get Vince McMahon out of power. Get Vince McMahon out of the WWE and put somebody in there who knows what the fuck he's doing, because Bruce and Vince do not. So we go to this match, United States Championship, MVP versus Apollo Crews, both holding their championships. Now, MVP takes the mic and rants about how he's the real champion here, and he continues representing the Hurt Business as a real champion. And Crews can back to hanging out with catering with Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. The bell rings and lights are flickering. They go at it and end up on the mat, trading holds. Crews with a 2 count. MVP gets up, but Crews quickly kips up and stares him down for a pop. Lashley and Benjamin look on from the outside. MVP keeps control, working Crews around as the lights flicker some more. Lashley looks around. Crews comes back with a snap suplex for a quick pin attempt. Crews mounts MVP and works him over, grounding him in the middle of the ring. Crews keeps MVP grounded with his arm now. MVP fights out and lands a couple of forearms to the face. MVP follows up with a running boot to drop Crews. Crews fights back and unloads with the strikes. MVP ends up on the floor for a breather with his partners. The lights continue to flicker. MVP is obviously getting annoyed by these flickering lights. He is like, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck? Now, Crews runs the ropes and leaps out, taking all 3 members of the Hurt Business down. Crews stands over MVP on the outside as we go to commercial break. Back from break, and MVP has Crews grounded. Lashley was able to get a cheap shot while the referee wasn't looking. MVP continues to ground Crews in the middle of the ring. Crews fights and bounces off the ropes, but MVP leaves, levels him with a forearm, and covers for a pair of pin attempts. MVP with more offense. While Crews is down for another 2 count, MVP uses the bottom rope to choke Crews and get the back of his, hurts him in the back of his neck using a camel clutch. Lashley and Benjamin look on smiling. MVP with more offense to dominate. MVP beats up Crews in the corner, and then MVP charges with a running boot, but Crews moves out and he gets stuck on the ring post. Crews rocks MVP and then hits a flying crossbody. Crews mounts offense and hits a several shoulder thrust in the corner. Now Crews gets a pop and he keeps fighting. More back and forth. MVP with a release German on his neck, but Crews gets right back up, hits the big toss powerbomb. 1, 2, 3. He retains the U.S. Championship, taking both titles as a referee, hands them both to him, and he walks away. Lashley hits the ring, goes for the full Nelson. Crews dodges and retreats to the ramp. Benjamin and Lashley check on MVP in the ring. Crews stands tall and raises both titles up the ramp. We go to the back, and Crews is with Charlie Caruso, and Crews says he's rightful champion. He gives praise to Lashley for being strong and comments on being stuck at home over the past few weeks because he couldn't do anything. He couldn't turn his neck anywhere. And He says it hurt for his kids to look at him and says they thought he was the United States champion while seeing MVP on TV. He says he's going to hang the old title over his kid's bed, well, so they can have the first title their dad ever won. He's going to carry this new title, which of course MVP paid for apparently, and he walks off. So it was made official right then and there. The old championship is now defunct, and the new United States Championship is the official championship. And I'm going to say it's about time because, honestly, the championship has felt a little outdated. I am very glad that they did not decide to go, well, you know what? The WWE Championship looks the same as the Universal Championship. And the Tag Team Championships on both shows look the same. Both Women's Championships look the same. Let's take the U.S. title and make it just like the Intercontinental title. But instead of Intercontinental, it would say United States. I commend them for giving us a championship that looks different. And it doesn't look that bad. Is it one of the best championships? No. But is it one of the worst? No. That's all the titles that look the same. Just saying. Of course, MVP is not happy. He says he says, what's up with the lights going on in this unsafe working environment? He says they should be ashamed of themselves. So should Cruz. He rants about some more about unsafe working conditions from Cruz and how Cruz stole the title. He doesn't care about Cruz's wife or kids, but he does care about his rematch. He wants the rematch, and he says something, and Benjamin says something in his ear, and he says he wants the rematch at SummerSlam, and the Hurt Business walks off. First off, why are you getting a rematch? You want the world champ. You want the U.S. champion. You didn't win the U.S. title. This wasn't a championship unification match. This was Apollo Crews defending his championship and being like, dude, I'm the champion. You can sit and say whatever the hell you want, but I am the champion. So, can someone please tell me what in the hell he's talking about? And of course, Apollo Crews would again later on accept that challenge, so we get a rematch at SummerSlam. But why? MVP lost clean. This wasn't a screw job. So why does he get a chance? Why does he get an opportunity for a title that wasn't his? This shit doesn't make any sense to me. But it is what it is. It's what WWE wants to do. Then, like the rematch clause thing from a couple years ago was like, oh, it's antiquated. Yes, it is. But that didn't last very long. And here we are now with WWE going, well, a guy who wasn't even champion is getting a rematch. This company is just so desperate for everything. They just want ratings. They need something to go on that works, and everything is not working for them. Backstage, we see a shadowy security guard standing outside of what looks like Shane McMahon's office. Tom says we're going to be hearing rumors of something new in WWE. That is the brainchild of Shane. We will find out more later as we go to commercial break. Back from break, and Sarah Schreiber is back with the Women's Tag Team Champions, Sasha Banks and Bayley. They ask that the titles will be defended at SummerSlam. They mock and insult Schreiber, keeping up with their new gimmick. They say they brought something special in the video package on how dominant they are in the recent women's title change, voiced by someone who might do a major motion picture trailer. We cut right to Asuka backstage ranting and yelling. She says revenge is very, very sweet. And then we go back to Bayley and Banks, who are not happy with this. And then Shayna Baszler shows up and says, I've been waiting long enough. And how she has a problem with how Banks snaked her way to the title and said she's been waiting for a chance to have some fun. And then she just cold cocks her right in the face, knocking her down, and she walks off. Bayley checks on Banks, but it looks like she wants none of it, and none of Baszler, and Baszler walks off. Then we're backstage again, and we see the Moronics confront Kevin Owens, and I'm like, as soon as Moronics are on TV, my TV goes mute. I cannot stand these women. They suck. They are annoying. They are not worth our time. So we have the Kevin Owens show. And Kevin Owens says he has a lot of interesting to say, including the return of Shane McMahon. If you remember, on the first episode of SmackDown, Shane McMahon won a ladder match to expel Shane McMahon from WWE, but this is WWE, and it's the house that Vince McMahon built, and so Shane McMahon can be there whenever the fuck they feel like it. So, back from break, and Owens has his mic. Oh, it's like, he said some thoughts on Shane, but he has something else to talk about, and he's experiencing some microphone difficulties, so, yes, more difficulties from whatever the hell is going on. He goes on and says he wants to talk about something with a friend of his, and introduces Ruby Riott. So, I'm sitting here thinking, well, what are we going to get tonight? Are we going to get Ruby Riott and friend, either Bianca Belair or Liv Morgan, versus the Moronics? And if you guessed that for tonight, then you win nothing, because that was what happened. He brings up how she gets emotional after her recent win over Peyton Royce. Ruby goes on about how she hasn't had much success since returning, and how the Moronics have just put salt in that wound. She dealt with women like her those all her life, but last week she finally got to shut Peyton Royce up. You mean 2 weeks ago, right? I don't remember Ruby Riott taking on Peyton Royce last week. I'm pretty sure it was 2 weeks ago, right? Right. I'm right about that, right? She says the only thing that could have made the moment better was if Liv Morgan could have shared it with her. Owens then gets up excited, jumps the gun, and says, "You know what? I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I got a surprise for you, because Liv Morgan's going to join us." And lo and behold, her absence is no longer there as Liv Morgan makes her way to the ring. And Owens thanks her for coming. Liv tells Ruby she was asked to hear her out, and Owens convinced her to come. So Owens says, you know what? And he's having more mic trouble, of course. He's like, you know what? It's probably good for her to listen to her. The Riott Squad was one special, but Sarah has moved on to another chapter in her life. As we know, Sarah Logan is pregnant, is going to be having a baby. So good, congratulations to her. But now, of course, she was fired on April 15th, but that is beyond the point. So, but that doesn't mean that they have to have it that what they had it over. He believes that they bring the best out of each other. Owens goes on about how he treated a lot of people wrong and done bad things because at the time he thought it was the best for his career, but now he's not so sure. He goes on and says it might be worth to hear Ruby out. Riott talks about, emotionally mind you, how she returned to Liv coming into her own. She was not used to what was going on. This was different. You were different. This entire company was different, and she couldn't handle it. And she took it out on Liv Morgan, and she wants another chance to make the Riott Squad work. And before anything else can happen, out come the Moronics, so I have to mute the TV again. I can't stand listening to them. I don't care. They could be giving out top secret information on anything, on something, and I can't listen to them talk. They are just so bad. So bad. Owens says he had nothing to do with them coming out. Royce goes on about how, I'm not even going to say about that. Basically, like I said, they talk for a little bit, they talk trash. Owens gets in between them, smacked in the face, and then Kevin Owens is like, ladies, little help. The Riott Squad, I guess you want to call them again, attack the Moronics. We get a match, and that was that. So, the Moronics versus the Riott Squad. This match went about 3 minutes, maybe, and the Riott Squad win. What else can I say? I cannot stand the Moronics. They suck at this gun at wrestling, and that's all I can really say about that. Of course, after the match, the Moronics are salty losers. Attack Liv Morgan, go for a double team. Ruby Riott stops them. They fight them off. They leave, and that's that. Tom says we were about some kind of accident backstage earlier. We sensed that Charlotte Caruso, she's where a bunch of production boxes and equipment were knocked over. She was told that they had to do with the lights glitching and everything that was going on. It was no accident. MVP walks up and he's still not happy with the unsafe working conditions in his loss from earlier tonight. And he's like, this is your reporting? The fact that boxes are falling over, you're reporting boxes. You should really be reporting the fact that I lost the United States Championship in unsafe working environments. But Caruso does reveal him getting his title rematch at SummerSlam. Then Shelton Benjamin walks up and is like, hey dude, somebody stole my 24/7 championship. And then they walk off. In the ring, out comes Drew McIntyre. We see how he got hit with the RKO last week. And this was a fantastic promo. Like, this dude is just great. Talking about how he's been preying on, how Orton has been preying on vulnerability for 20 years. Mentions last week attacking on Orton is for the lesson learned. Drew says it will never happen again. Says he knows that what motivated Orton last week. He knows that Orton is just motivated to take the WWE title as he is to keep it. Drew goes on and mentions how Vince McMahon once told them both they would be the future of this company. Yeah, we know how that goes. Drew says Orton has had everything handed to him and a spoon fed to him because of his dad. He also mentions Evolution, how they always cleaned up for Orton and his mistakes. He admits that his own mistakes and says he deserved to get fired when he did, which I guess you can say that, but yeah. He deserved to get fired because, yes, when Drew McIntyre was out there getting his ass kicked and just being so bad at everything, Drew admits his own mistakes. He said it deserved to be fired. He says Orton had left enough of his own crap behind him and should have been fired long before Drew was. Which, of course, we know that Orton has been busted for how many wellness policy violations did Randy Orton have in his career that we don't know about? Him defecating in somebody's bag, so many other things. Out came Randy Orton, and him and Drew McIntyre had some words, and this I actually am going to have queued up this time for you guys to hear.
For you, not enough? Just last week I came out to this ring and I told the entire world that you had my respect, but you choose to come out here. You choose to repay me by telling the world in turn that I was handed everything, that I don't even want to be here. Let me ask you something, Drew. If I didn't want to be here, then why the hell am I here? I've made my money. I'm here because I want to be here. I'm here because I enjoy coming down to that ring each and every week, hitting RKOs and punt kicking heads. Now I appreciate your fighting spirit. I truly do, which is why it's going to be that much more sweet at SummerSlam when I hit you with an RKO and punt kick you in the skull and take that WWE title away from you. Now you say that I should have been fired years ago. You're right. I should have been fired over and over and over again. I should have been fired multiple times, but I wasn't fired. You were fired. You want to know why? Because I am more valuable to this company than you ever were or ever will be. I have been given chance after chance, second chances, third chances, 4, 5, 6, the list goes on. I have been given those chances, Drew, because I am the chosen one. Then, now, and forever. I don't see a leader standing before me. I don't see somebody the boys in the back respect. I see a selfish. Here's what's going to happen at SummerSlam, Randy. I have a whole bunch of receipts to cash in. A bunch of receipts from me, from some of the guys in the current roster, some of our former superstars, every legend you have ever kicked in the damn head. Randy, at SummerSlam, I'm going to rip off your head, and I promise you, I swear to you, Randy, you're sure as hell going to see it coming.
I really wish WWE would put the full fucking video up. The reason he said something about like the receipts and stuff is simple. Is when his world was coming to an like his world was crumbling below him, was crumbling around him. Randy Orton was being pulled out from that hole that he was in that he mentioned about Edge helping him get out of. And Randy walked by this guy, Drew McIntyre, didn't say a words of encouragement or anything, and that's where that is from. WWE needs to really start putting the full video up of their interviews if you're going to actually put them up. Why put only half the thing up? The whole thing was great. So, yes, that is going to be that should be your main event at SummerSlam, plain and simple. Then we move on here to Nia Jax and producer Pat Buck backstage. We see them talking. This is the same producer. She was fined an undisclosed amount for attacking last week. We go back to break. We come back, and Kevin Owens with Riot Squad. And they're talking. Ric Flair walks up and he wants to talk to Owens. Flair says everyone on the roster loves Owens, and Owens is trying to help everyone without looking out for himself. Owens defends his actions with helping the Riot Squad because they were his friends. Owens says he sacrificed friendships to get to the top in the past, but now he wants to be a different person. One who people can look up to in the locker room. Owens wants to be what Andy Orton could be, but he doesn't want to be. Flair says he's in Orton's corner and Owens needs to listen to his advice. They go on and Flair says maybe Owens could get a title shot like Orton if he listened to Flair. Owens then makes a challenge for next week. He wants to see Randy Orton in the ring. So that is going to be happening next week. Go to the ring and Nia Jax is out in the ring with producer Pat Buck. She shows us what happened last week. Then she hits the Samoan drop on Buck, and then Shayna Baszler was brawling. She sounds like she's about to apologize when she mentions fans adoring her and calls Buck a scrawny little runt who couldn't cut it in his own career. She turns around and acts like she doesn't know Buck was there. She is making fun of him. She's like, why should I have to apologize to this guy? He's a loser. He couldn't make it his own career. Why do I have to deal with this? She knows Buck is looking for an apology, but she's going to give him an opportunity to prove something, a match against her. Buck says she's only in the ring because he was told an apology was coming. Jax says she will apologize after their match. They can settle it right here. She says this is a big opportunity, one he'd never get if it weren't for her. She promises to start off real slow so Buck can get Buck's little legs can keep up. Buck suggests they leave if she's not going to apologize. Jax goes on and mocks him by being a ginger with red hair. She says they didn't have to speak in private. He can say what he needs to say. She shoves him in the mic into his chest, and he says, due to her actions, she is now indefinitely suspended. Thank the wrestling gods, she is out of here. I hope this doesn't lead to Pat Buck versus Nia Jax at SummerSlam. Please, oh please, I do not need to see Pat Buck or Nia Jax in the ring at SummerSlam. She's indefinitely suspended. See you bye. We don't need to see you again anymore. Indefinitely suspended to me should be she is definitely suspended for the rest of forever. We do not need to see her on TV. Go retire. Go do something else because you can't cut it in the professional wrestling world. So she gets pissed off. She drops Buck to the boos. The boos get louder as Jack kicks Buck out of the ring. She storms off as Buck sits up and recovers at ringside. So she is gone for who knows how long. Then R-Truth runs down. He is clutching the 24/7 championship. He is being chased around by Benjamin and the Kyotozawa ninjas. We go to commercial break. We come back and we get a triple threat match for the title. This match was garbage. Who really cares about the 24/7 I-95 7-Eleven Eurocontinental Heavyweight Championship? I don't. Cesaro wins after ninjas were distracting the Hurt Business, Shelton Benjamin, and R-Truth. Oh, I'm sorry, not R-Truth, because R-Truth was down. But the Hurt Business was being distracted by ninjas. Cesaro hits the senton off the top rope, beats R-Truth, and runs off. Who fucking cares? This show sucks. The camera cuts to Shane McMahon in a warehouse setting. There's a ring with no ropes, a black cover. A referee is watching as two competitors go at it on the mat. The ring is surrounded by a group of competitors pounding on the mat over and over. Shane welcomes us and says he's bringing us something new to Raw, and he invites everyone to join him at 10 p.m. for Raw Underground. The only thing underground on this show is the fucking ratings and the quality. This show was a dumpster fire from the start. Apparently, like I said earlier, they were not ready. They did not have this show completed at all before they started taping, and it shows. This show just completely looked like a mess. Then we go to Sarah Schreiber, who's with Dominic Mysterio. You see what happened last week when Dominic snapped on Rollins. Sarah Schreiber asks why he keeps showing up in Raw with it where there is risk. He says he's doing this because he's witnessed his dad, Ray, get blinded, so he's understandable that his mind hasn't been in the right place as of late. He says if anyone thinks he's crazy now, they're going to think he's crazy when he challenges Rollins to a match at SummerSlam, and he walks off. Yep, there it is. Dominic versus Seth Rollins. The Kid makes his in-ring debut at SummerSlam. I mean, it's no Fandango versus Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, but come on. SummerSlam, Mysterio, like Dominic versus Seth Rollins. Oh boy. Then we get Sasha Banks versus Shayna Baszler. This is from what happened earlier in the night when Shayna Baszler dropped Sasha Banks like the little bitch that she's been portrayed to be. They had themselves, this was a good match here. This was one of the highlights of the show until the end. This was actually a really, really good match. Sasha Banks gets the hell beat out of her for a bit. Shayna Baszler gets distracted. She ends up getting her arm fucked up. Sasha Banks is able to get back into it. They fight back and forth. Kick to the head to Sasha Banks. Baszler and her having themselves a hell of a match. When all of a sudden, Asuka appears at ringside, beating down Bayley against the barrier, and the referee calls the bell for rings the bell for the match. What? Bayley is on the outside. She's not in this match. Why on earth is Bayley getting attacked, ending the match? This will probably be some kind of hidden rule, like Seth Rollins was like Seth Rollins grabbed Rey Mysterio when he wasn't a legal man and threw him outside, and the whole eye stabbing thing. That's what I think is going on here. They're gonna have some kind of stupid secret rule that makes no goddamn sense, that will be forgotten about tomorrow, or not be forgotten about next week, and we move on. So, Asuka hits the ring. She joins Banks gets chased off. She joins Bayley at ringside. Banks yells no over and over again. We go to commercial break. And I'm thinking, oh man, we're getting a fucking tag team match, aren't we? But no, we're not. We come back, and Sasha Banks and Bayley are gone. Carly Caruso's in the ring and asking about Kairi Sane. They show us what happened last week. Asuka is in the ring. She's asked. Gets hyped and says Sane is not here. She's going to be okay, but the Bayley and Sasha Banks are, and so is she. And she wants a rematch with Banks at SummerSlam. Shayna Baszler approaches Asuka, and Baszler isn't here to fight. She's rooting on Asuka to win the title back because she will be excited to dismember Asuka and take the championship from Asuka. Out comes Sasha Banks and Bayley with all their gold. Banks brags about being the women's champion and says she will grant Asuka her rematch if she can defeat a former women's champion, member of NXT Women's Champion, member of the Four Horsewomen. Woo! And I'm thinking it's going to be... And Asuka even thinks so, too. She's looking over at Shayna like, I have to fight her next week? But no. It's Bayley. And Bayley does not look happy at all. The fact that she has to face Asuka to keep Asuka from getting a title match. So the seeds continue... The crack just keeps on getting It keeps splintering over and over and over again. Angel goes backstage with Demi Burnett of The Bachelor. He gets her phone number, he gives her a rose. Yada, yada, yada. Who gives a shit? We cut back to more of the underground stuff. I really don't give a shit. More fighting here and there. Babatunda, I think is his name. Yeah, we have... Yeah, Babatunda makes his debut on this. Who's been with WWE since 2016, but his new name is Daba Kato. Babatunda. The last time we saw, I think, Babatunda in WWE at all was the Greatest Royal Rumble in, what was it, 2018? Yeah, 2018, the Greatest Royal Rumble. He was in that match. Yeah, I think that was the last time we saw him. He beats the hell out of a bunch of jobbers. Who gives a shit? Angel Garza versus Angelo Dawkins. This was a pretty okay match. I mean, these guys went out there and did what they had to do. Angel Garza ends up picking up the win after the bell. Dawkins goes out and checks on Ford, who seems dazed and confused but nods his head when Dawkins asks him if he's good to go. And we go to commercial break. Back from break, and Montel Ford is going out with Andrade in the ring. Tom talks about how Ford collapsed before the match. The announcers play up the seriousness of the situation. So these guys are having themselves another decent match. And what does WWE decide to do? And Montez Ford goes for a dive onto the outside. Hits both Angel Garza and Andrade. Comes back in, does his warrior shaking the ropes thing. But as he's doing that, he just collapses. What the fuck are they doing? We have shoot style MMA. We're going to have in a few minutes a act of terrorist actions later on. And now a heart attack, like a poison or heart attack. Like, what the fuck? They're desperate for ratings, but this is WCW crap right here. This is absolute WCW crap, and you should not want to be, compared to WCW. So we see backstage, Murphy backstage watching a replay of last week's attack. Seth Rollins walks up and says, Murphy made the right decision. He's proud of Murphy, and Murphy should be proud of himself. The past is the past, and now we focus on the future. Murphy asks if Rollins has put any thought into Dominic Mysterio's challenge for SummerSlam. He thinks it's ridiculous because he's never been in the ring before. He's just sacrificed for his old man. Murphy asks if it's ridiculous, right? Rollins just smirks and walks off, and we go to commercial break. Back from break, and they talk about Raw Talk. Who cares? We go back to Shane and his 3 dancers. By the way, it looks like a warehouse with a ring with no ropes, a bunch of nobodies around the ring, and a little bit off to the side, you see 3 exotic dancers just dancing for entertainment. Who is this appealing to? May I ask, who is this appealing to? Because it's not appealing to the 18 to 39, the 18 to 49 demo. Is it appealing to 50 plus? Who is this appealing to? If you're watching professional wrestling shows like AEW, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Impact Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, we don't want to see MMA. If I want to watch MMA, I will watch MMA shows like UFC, Bellator, and whatever else there is out there. WWE needs to get their shit together ASAP. So, the announcers, of course, have to praise this new concept. Tom shows us what happened with Ford earlier tonight, and we go back to the stage, and Garza, Vega, and Andrade are in the back. Vega wants to know what's going to happen to the match at SummerSlam, because I know out comes Angelo Dawkins is like, the doctor isn't 100% sure, but it seems like he was poisoned. Garza and them are all like, whoa, what the fuck? And then Bianca Belair is like, oh, just the chick I'm looking for. You got to tell me what the fuck's going on, because I know you had something to do with this. My husband got poisoned, and you're going to tell me this straight, or I'm going to take these earrings off and kick your ass. Of course, Zelina Vega denies having any wrongdoing. They have a little bit of a fight for a second, and that was that. And then we see Tom Phillips show a surveillance camera from earlier in the night. We see several men and women in all black running up to a transformer and throwing firebombs at it. They yell and cheer as the machinery catches fire, and they run away. And this is where I'm wondering, how tone deaf can you be? With everything that's going on in Portland, Seattle, other places in the country, you decide to do this. With Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and other terrorist stuff going on, you decide that let's capitalize on this and make it a part of our show. But it's not political. It's not political. It's political 110%. This is WWE spoofing terrorism and extremism just to try and pop a rating. And this is all we saw from this group tonight. What the fuck are they thinking? Wow. Just WWE is just, I can't even. So Charlie Caruso approaches the Hurt Business. She knows that MVP hasn't gone as planned. MVP accuses her of bad journalism because she's been asking about the bizarre happenings on Raw tonight. Or she should be. MVP says her question should be about sabotage because that is what's going on. Sean Benjamin asks if there's really a coincidence that the sabotage that will sabotage the night Raw Underground shows up. MVP has an idea of, it sounds like the Hurt Business is heading to Raw Underground. They announced Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton next week, plus Asuka versus Bayley, and Asuka getting a title shot from Sasha at SummerSlam if she wins. We get the recent happenings between Seth Rollins and Mysterio, and then Seth Rollins comes. So Seth Rollins is in the ring, and before he addresses Dominic's challenge, he wants to address Tom Phillips. He asks Tom if he thinks he's an unbiased journalist, if he takes pride in his body of work. They get out of the ring, they come down, and Rollins asks Tom, what was he doing last week when Rey Mysterio's stupid kid was assaulting him with a kendo stick? He is yelling at Tom now. He says Tom was cheering Dominic on last week, inciting his rage. He goes on about how Tom's voice matters. He is the voice of Monday Night Raw and is part of the greater good, whether he likes it or not. And he says it's his job calling things down the middle so he doesn't create bias before it goes into the little brains of fans at home. And if he doesn't, then Tom becomes a liability and says maybe it's time has come for a new voice for Raw. And tells Murphy to get him. Unfortunately, he came from the wrong side because Samoa Joe gets up and says, this ain't gonna happen, motherfucker. Whether he brings Murphy or not, Joe tells Rollins to go back to the ring and make his point he came to make, or he will smack his lips and beat his disciple down. Murphy stares at Joe from the side. Rollins tells Joe if he does not want to do this. Joe says no. He takes his headset off and says, I do want to do this. Drops his headset. They get back in the ring like scared little dogs. And then Joe's getting ready to fight. We go to commercial break. We come back. Nothing has happened yet. Joe's getting ready to go. They have chairs now for whatever fucking reason. They're focused on Joe. And then all of a sudden, thwack! In comes Dominic Mysterio with a couple kendo stick shots to the back of both men, sending him off. Joe's back on the announce table, just calling this as much vigor as can be. He finally chases him off. Seth Rollins, you know what? Fine. I accept your challenge for SummerSlam. That match is happening. So yeah. Tom Phillips looks absolutely he looks worried. He looks shaken that his journalism, his commentary has been brought into question, and that if Samoa Joe wasn't there, then something bad could have happened. He gives Samoa Joe the fist bump as thanks for having my back, dude. We get sent back to the final portion of this entire fucking Hurt Business, this underground thing. Dolph Ziggler beats up some guy. Outcome MVP. MVP and the Hurt Business come in. They take over. They beat the piss out of everybody. And that's pretty much it. That's Monday Night Raw for you. So, I understand why they didn't do a full hour of this entire thing. If they would have went an entire 60 minutes of Raw Underground, the ratings would have fell so fast that the Raw Underground thing would have been cut off the air before we got to 11. This was the best they could do. This was the best you could come up with. They are really grasping at straws. throwing darts at a dartboard, seeing if something will fucking stick, and nothing is sticking. It would not surprise me if this Raw Underground thing dies after this week. You brought Shane McMahon back less than a year later for this. This was ridiculous. This was stupid. This was just something that did not make any sense. SummerSlam is a week. Next week is the go-home show of SummerSlam, mind you. I can't even with this company. SummerSlam's either it should be next week, right? No, it's 2 weeks. It's a week from Sunday. It's 2 weeks from Sunday. So go home show. We have 2 more episodes of Monday Night Raw before SummerSlam, and this is what you got for me. This company will never get better until Vince McMahon is gone. They're going to keep getting worse and worse. It's feeling more and more like WCW 2000 to 2001 every single week. They have more money coming in, but it still feels like WCW, and the ratings are showing it. It would not surprise me if more people tuned out than tuned in for this entire crap when it comes to Raw Underground. This show should be buried 20 feet underground to never see the light of day again. But that's Monday Night Raw for you. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video, find me on Twitter at The France Club, find me on twitch.tv/The France Club, and find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys Wednesday for AEW as we see Jon Moxley take on Darby Allin and so much more. Until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.